And welcome into yet again another episode of Devil Dash. We got a great episode for you here today. We got some Sun Devil wins to talk about back to back. Now we're going to be talking about the rest of the season in general, Pac-12 hoops as a whole, and then something at the end to kind of spice it up of like, what is this guard U identity? You know, the kind of dating back to Bobby Hurley's tenure at the beginning of when he came here and creating that guard U. So we're going to get into all of that. But first, we're going to start off, Josh. Can the Sun Devils salvage their season still? So, it may be needed to go perfect for the rest of the season to be, get an at-large bid. But, getting some momentum into the Pac-12 tournament. I believe John Wilner today reported that the Pac-12 basketball tournament is going to happen this year. So that's a positive for the Sun Devils. But question remains after the sweep of the Bay Area schools. They're now 3-5 in conference, and all three of their wins, two against Cal and one against Stanford now. Can they salvage their season? What do you think?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible. Winning out this week helped their chances a lot. Hearing that the Pac-12 tournament is going to keep going that's good news because that also sheds some light into the situation about a couple of their other Pac-12 games getting rescheduled. So, if they can get those games rescheduled, kind of make up for some of the, postponements and, some of the early play that was not as good from this team. If they can capitalize on that, then yeah, I mean, they've got a chance. I mean, there's always the Pac-12 tournament as well.
I mean, the thing that I think is going to hurt them is, they have a decent amount of wins now. They're stringing together. They're almost back to 500 with still quite a few games left to play. Let me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10 if they make up the Utah game that just got postponed. But so there's still 10 games left. A chance to go. If you go 8-2 in those games, you're now what? Let me do some quick math here. You're 14-10. It's definitely not good enough in the Pac-12 to get you an at-large bid. But the thing I'm worried about for this team is they don't really have the wins against the tournament teams. They lost to Villanova earlier in the year. Rhode Island's a decent win. They're probably going to be another team that's close to getting in. They lost to San Diego State. They beat GCU, and GCU's probably going to be close to a tournament team if two teams get in from that division or if they win their tournament. I believe GCU's 12-3 now, which is pretty impressive. So that's a good win. But other than that, UCLA, USC, U of A twice, who can't make it into the tournament. Stanford might make it into the tournament, but, Stanford was missing a lot of key players in that game. De Silva was playing, so, that's one of their best players. But I'm just worried about their strength of wins because right now it's been, Stanford, Cal, GCU, Houston Baptist, and Rhode Island. So, out of all those, Rhode Island and, probably GCU are your two best wins, and that's not going to be very impressive compared to other bubble teams, I believe, probably 10 or the Big 12. And we have a loss to UTEP, which I think is going to be a lot worse than a lot of teams. So I think a lot of magic's going to need to happen, maybe a 9-1, 10-0 stretch here for them to salvage their season after an at-large bid.
Yeah, you're right on track. This team really, figuratively shot themselves in the foot early on this season by dropping a couple of easier games. Some blow-by games that you should have stacked in the win column. But they got their work cut out from in the second half of this season. Coming into Pac-12 play, you've seen a lot of these teams already once, and I think we're kind of hitting our form right now. I want to say that preemptively after 2 wins, but Remy Martin looked good, and I can see Josh Christopher pouring on a couple more points, but they can make it happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you look at their schedule, it's like what could have been. Because obviously, they played well against Stanford. They played well against Cal, but a combined 8-point win in 2 games. So not really convincing wins, especially against Stanford. Cal's, I think, they're in last place in the division. They're 2-10 in conference. You did sweep them. So, there's not a bad win. But Stanford, they were missing so much. Again, they were 6-3 going into that game. So it's a good win to get some momentum going. It's so hard because what could have been, that overtime game against UCLA very easily could have gone our way. I think the guys were tired. It was the first game coming back from the COVID break, I guess you could say. And that Oregon State loss was just crushing. That's a game you need to win. And you lost to both Southern California schools going into that Oregon State game, so you really needed a big win there. Lost by 1. You lose next game after Oregon State on a buzzer beater to U of A. So, I mean, those are 3 wins that very easily could have gone your way. I know you could say GCU could have gone against them, so that's fair. But, if those 3 games go your way, you're now 9-5, and you're right in the mix of things, maybe even a top, probably not a top 25 team, but you're very well in the mix of things for the tournament. And, I think you got to look at ASU kind of adopting this model of, one and dones with Josh Christopher and Marcus Bagley, because they're both probably going to go into the tournament, into the draft next year. And it's a COVID shortened year. I understand that, but it's looked like ASU's taken a little bit to find that chemistry between, Remy Martin, the guards, and, missing right. It looks like they need a lot more of that leadership and chemistry. It's taken some time. So, the time isn't there anymore for ASU. So it's time to go now, because you wasted all that with games like UTEP, with Oregon State, with that buzzer beater loss to U of A. So, they really kind of bit themselves in the butt there. They did it to themselves to really put themselves behind the 8 ball for this season.
Yeah, and one thing, that's, every team's going to need this going into, the back end of the season, and of course the NCAA tournament. But their bench has to be there for when these starters get pulled out. And I know I saw the last couple of games, I saw a little more out of Kamani Lawrence. We saw some clutch free throws at the end of the Stanford game to give us a little cushion. And Jalen Graham didn't come off the bench, but he's been playing a lot better. And, I think especially this week, it made a difference. I know we saw him. He wasn't perfect, but I saw a lot of good possessions by him, a lot of good work in the paint, and he's going to have to be on his A game if we want to compete against some of these Big Ten schools and ACC schools that are going to be just thriving in the tournament.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at Joe Lunardi's recent bracketology. He actually has Stanford in as that 12 seed playing game in Dayton, where ASU fans know that also well. So that actually, it's a great win for ASU to get, even with the missing players. It's a great win to get a tournament win on your resume. So that's going to be one that goes down. I'm trying to find if Rhode Island is on here. It doesn't look like he has them in as of right now. But, he has 5 Pac-12 teams in the tournament. So if you really can string together some wins and then make a run in the Pac-12 tournament, let's say in the Pac-12 tournament you beat a Stanford, a USC, and an Oregon. Maybe you don't win the championship, so you don't get that automatic bid. But you beat 3 teams like that, and you only, ASU goes 8-2, 9-1, which they're on a 2-game winning streak. So if they go 9-1, that would now be 11-1 in their last 12, with another 3-1 in the Pac-12 tournament. You're looking at 14-2 in their last 16 games. Obviously, saying they go 9-1 or 8-2 over these next 10. That's a big if.
They've done it. I mean, Bobby Hurley's
they did it last year.
Gotten that out of his team.
Absolutely, and they have the talent to do it. That's the thing. That's why these expectations are so high, is because they really do have the talent to pull this off. And they did it last year with lesser talent than this. Maybe they had a better center and more of a well put together team, but for a talent to make a run that's needed like this, they have it. And if a team goes 14-2 in their last 16, it's going to be really hard in a Power 5 conference to leave them out of the tournament. And again, we're asking a whole lot for a team that's 6-8 right now to go 14-2 in the next 16. That's asking for a lot, and you're asking for them to beat a lot of good teams like the Oregons. You're going to play Oregon again. You still have to play Colorado, who's been playing some awesome basketball. You still have to play Utah, who just beat Colorado. Yeah, you still going to have to play USC and UCLA again. You still have to play the Washington schools at the back end, which could be too good. Washington State's not a terrible team. Washington's not all that great, but it could be 2 wins at the end of your season, to kind of bolster that at the end. There's a lot to be played, a lot of basketball left to be played, but, like we said, Sun Devils need to go now.
Yeah, and, that scenario that you just laid out right there, Sun Devils having to pull off, a 10-game win streak or something around the lines like that. That might be their best chance of getting into the tournament, because, whether us fans like it or not, the committee is going to, they factor in the hot teams. They're not going to pick a 16-10, Illinois team that was really good at the beginning of the year that fell off over, an 11-1 ASU team that beat, a couple of good Pac-12 schools, but they're playing good basketball. They're hot right now. They deserve a bid. And I mean, it's possible, but it's just it's really unlikely. I mean, what would that be? Like 3 straight seasons of a 9+ winning streak?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good
Kinda
transition.
incredible.
It's a good transition into what we're talking about. And I think, the question is the Pac-12 strong enough for ASU to make this run? Let's say they do go 8-2, which 10-0, 9-1 is very unlikely. 8-2 is even unlikely. Maybe 7-3 is more of a realistic goal, but 7-3 you're definitely not going to get in. 8-2 you're still probably not going to get in. I'm questioning even if you go 9-1, because at that point you're sitting at 15-9. Is that good enough in a weakened conference in the Pac-12? I know I just said Joe Lunardi has 5 teams in, which is almost half the conference, which is pretty solid, but they don't really have that premier team to get that, when you beat the number 1 team in the nation and it boosts you, you see it boosts you right up the rankings. And, we don't have that. Oregon's the closest we have. U of A, I don't think people are giving them much love. A, they're not that good, and B, they can't even make the postseason this year. So it's just a lot of moving parts here for ASU. And I just really don't know unless you do get, if you're going to make this run, you have to beat Oregon, USC, UCLA. Those are the 3 ranked teams. I mean, I think USC and Oregon are both right outside the top 25 as of this morning. But I mean, those are going to be teams that are quadrant 1, but not on the back end of quadrant 1. They're right up there with some of the best teams in the country. If you get all 3 of those, you put yourself right back in the talk. Especially, I think the goal right now, though, for ASU should be to get a top 4 seed in the Pac-12, because the top 4 seeds get the first round bye in the Pac-12 tournament. Because if you don't get that first round bye and you want to win the tournament, you have to win 4 straight days: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And there's only been 1 team to do that, and that was Colorado the first year that they came into the Pac-12. So I think there's a lot, but I think the realistic goal for ASU should be to get a top 4 seed in the Pac-12 tournament and put all your chips in on the Pac-12 tournament. I mean, I think that's the most realistic goal.
Yeah, I think a top 4 seed is attainable. I mean, the Pac-12, look, they're going to drop a couple games. I mean, hopefully the top 3 right now, Oregon, UCLA, and USC stay perfect until we play them, because, we don't have, like you said earlier, we don't have that number 1 team. We don't have that Michigan State, top 10 ranked every year. Every time you beat a team like that, that's a great win on your resume, of course. But we do have UCLA and USC. Like you said, these are 2 teams that are right outside of the top 25. They're maybe not getting that national love, but we know in the Pac-12 that they've been playing good basketball. They've got good recruits. They've got even better coaching. So I think in order for us to make the tournament, and kind of back to the main question, is the Pac-12 strong enough for, ASU to make a run? I think they are. I think, UCLA is going to keep playing well. I think USC is going to keep playing well alongside them. And, it's up to ASU to pull a win out. I think they can do it. I think Bobby Hurley's got it in him.
Yeah, I mean, they've done it in the past with good teams, even UCLA teams that are probably better than them. And I agree, UCLA is playing great basketball. I mean, we saw them here earlier in the season at home, and they were nothing all that special. I mean, the only problem is we know they're playing good basketball now, but their ranking and their net ranking, where Joe Lunardi has them, I think, as let me pull it up here real quick. He has them as a 5 seed right now, which is a great win, especially for a team trying to get to the tournament, but it's not beating a 1, 2, or 3 seed,
Yeah.
Excuse me. And like I said, you can't lose to these teams because we don't have that top team in the conference.
We have no pad.
Yeah, you don't have that cushion to lose, because you already lost to an Oregon State. You already lost to a UTEP. You don't have the cushion you're going to have to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. And then,
make up a couple on top of that.
Exactly, especially the teams that are in the 3 to 5 seed in the Pac-12, because those are the teams you're trying to catch for that top 4 seed.
Yeah.
The only problem is ASU has never really done well in the Pac-12 tournament. So for us to be banking on that tournament, we should be heavily let down.
Well, when's the last time you ever saw ASU play in a Pac-12 tournament with a top 5 national recruit? I know it hasn't gone all that way this season, but what if this guy, what if he gets under the spotlight and something changes, and if he averages, over 20 points a game in the Pac-12 tournament, I think we get a really good shot of winning it.
I think there's a lot of merit to that. I think there's a lot of, what can Josh Christopher do? He's starting to shoot the ball better. And, he's starting to get that chemistry with Remy Martin. Remy Martin, I don't have the Pac-12 stats in front of me. I know going into the Stanford game, he was fifth in assists, I believe, fourth in scoring. I might have those numbers flip-flop, fourth in scoring and fifth in assists. But he's performing well, and we still think he can play a whole lot better. And I think those assist numbers will go up. I had it in front of me. He's averaging only 4 assists per game, which is great, but we think he can do better than that. And I think a lot of that's going to come with Marcus Bagley and Josh Christopher getting more comfortable. And when they really start clicking, I think the lack of height is not going to hurt them as much, because when you're a team that dominates with an athletic point guard and 2 athletic wings, I don't think teams are just going to try to dump the ball down low. I think they're going to have to switch up their lineup to play to try to stop you, because that's how good teams play. You don't try to shift yourself to do what they do. You try to you play your own game, and other teams try to stop you. And I think that's where ASU needs to get. But I don't think they don't really know what the ceiling is. And I think we're going to get into more of the guard you prognostic later. But the question for Josh Christopher playing like a wing position is, he's been bringing the ball up the court, but what is his role outside of I'm kind of curious. Is he the Batman, or is Remy Martin the Batman to his Robin? I think Remy Martin's obviously outperforming him this year. He's averaging 18 points per game, which is pretty incredible. But Josh pretty highlight plays, and he is averaging 1.5 steals per game, which is those are big momentum shifters.
I think the main focus right now for Josh Christopher is just draw as much attention as possible, and because at the end of the day, you're going to help the team out more when you do that. Remy should be taking the ball up, almost all the time, because he is that energy. He is that spark plug that this offense needs. Yeah. And, he's been doing that for three years. And I think, he's got the best vision for this offense for what Bobby Hurley is trying to implement to, a lot of these young guys like Christopher and Bagley. Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, it's up to him, to kind of just not put them in their place, but, just let them know what's going on. Remy's been in this situation multiple times. He was a part of all these win streaks. I just get that dog mentality from Remy. I know he's got it in him. It's really tough to see. It's honestly tough to just see Christopher perform. I'm not trying to really take a shot at him, but perform how he has when the expectation we had for him coming in was so high.
Yeah, it was to be one of the best players in the country.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. This man, this has nothing to do with his basketball play, but this man graduated high school and he had 1 million Instagram followers. So that's a pretty big deal right there.
Yeah, and our expectations for him were to be a top 10 to 20 player in the country, and he obviously hasn't been that, but he's playing a lot better. I think, he shoots a lot of threes, and he didn't start off the year shooting it all that great. He's shooting it better, but not really all that great yet. I think he's been playing a lot better at the rim, which is why we've seen his shooting percentage go up. But I think if he starts shooting the 3 ball better and more consistently, this ASU team is going to be scary, because Bagley has shown he can hit the 3, and Bagley's great at driving to the rim. And like I said, I think when these 3 start clicking, kind of your big 3, you won't really need to rely on as much big man offensively, just really to kind of get some rebounds defensively and hold down the paint against people like Mobley.
Yeah, that's going to be your toughest challenge right there. Mobley, that USC game. I'm pretty sure. I don't think he did anything super crazy against us.
Yeah, they played well. They played well against him in the first game. I don't have the stats exactly.
I want to say he had over 13 rebounds though, which is that's obvious.
He actually did have a great game. 19 points, 13 rebounds.
Oh, I was right on the money with that. Yeah, that's a problem that ASU is going to have to fix. I don't know how you fix that, but it's something that's been happening since the beginning of the season. We've been getting out rebounded, and hey, good coaches are going to game plan against that. You know what I mean? Because what do you do when you're trying to face your opponent? You pick out their weakest link and you go for it. That's where you're going to have the greatest chance of pulling off a victory.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the stats in my game again. A common denominator here is Christopher 3 for 11, Bagley 3 for 12 from the field. Christopher did go 2 for 4 from 3 that game actually, so meaning he was 1 for 7 from 2, which is not great. And then Marcus Bagley was 2 for 7 in that game. That game was played actually without Remy Martin because of the passing of his grandfather. So, that's definitely something to note in there. And that happened also with the first UCLA game. So it's just, there's so many question marks. And I feel like we go through the same thing with football. It's like what this team could be. We had that 3-week break, and it's so difficult because you want to know what this team can be. And I feel like we're going to come around next week, and I think we have one game, whether we win or lose, because the Utah game got postponed. It looked like that's what it's saying on ESPN. And so the next game's against Colorado. It's on ESPN too. It's another classic 9 p.m. tip off, the Pac-12 after dark. But if you lose that game, their seasons are already probably over. We're trying to be optimists here, but we're trying to be optimists. I mean, there's not going to be not going to be many questions left to ask. You're going to be asking, where it all went wrong and what's going on, but there's not going to be really that optimistic questions about this season anymore. And so, the losing a game of Utah is going to be, kind of a big loss. I think that's a team you can beat. It's a great team, and we've really struggled playing at Colorado.
It doesn't really matter if it's football or basketball. We always seem to drop a game against Colorado.
Oh my gosh!
Usually in Colorado as well. Whenever we need to win it most.
Every year.
I'm not too keen on watching McKinley Wright drop like 8 threes on us on the 4th or whenever we play them, but yeah, that'll be a tough game for us, and it's kind of a deciding factor of our entire season for sure.
And so we're going to move on to, we talk about McKinley Wright trying to torch us. Has guard you, we kind of adopted this guard you mentality when, we had James Harden and go to the pros, and, outside of that, we haven't had a whole lot recently since, maybe Eddie House. I'm 22 years old, so I don't have a whole lot of old school knowledge stuck up here with ASU basketball, but I believe Eddie House is the most recent and there. But U of A has had so many great guards. I don't want to give them credit, but they've had so many great guards go to the NBA, and ASU kind of adopted this guard you mentality, which it was a great wave for 2 years. Now there's no fans, and I truly believe, I don't have any facts to back this up, but I truly believe they lost Romello White because of it. I mean, Daquan Lake graduated and he was great, but they lost Romello White because I think they're kind of scaring away these big men, hence why, Jalen Graham is our center. I'm curious if we stick with this guard you mentality and how Hurley recruits, because, with a lack of a center, I think it's been a big hole for them offensively this year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're saying any big change in this team this year, it's no Romello White. It's really no big, sturdy, big man to just throw the ball down or have a guy down there, ready to get a rebound whenever you need it. But I don't think Bobby Hurley's really going to change up how he's recruiting. He just got his top recruit, in the past, or probably of his career, to be honest. And we're going through a rough patch. This is a COVID season. I hate, just handing out the free pass like that. Like
we did for football.
But this is real. This is a real pandemic. As you've seen with Remy Martin, there's a lot of other things going on that can happen too, like family members that greatly affect anybody playing. But I think Bobby Hurley is going to recruit players kind of like his style, because how he played at Duke, he did well, and that's how he knows how to play. That's how he feels comfortable. Teaching these lessons upon these kids. That's where he's most comfortable in his little basketball world, and I don't think he's going to change anything anytime soon. This is a one COVID season that has kind of come out shaky, but other than that, I really like.
And why should he change anything up? Because he's done really well everywhere he's gone. He was one of the best point guards. I believe he still leads all-time assists in NCAA history. One of the best point guards to ever play in college hoops. His professional career was derailed by a really bad car accident. I believe he broke his ankle. Someone comment in chat if I'm wrong, if you know that. But everywhere he's gone, whether it's Buffalo, now ASU's had success ever since he's been here. Buffalo is look at Buffalo. I mean, they're thriving as an athletics program.
Yeah,
They're
football. Beat us.
They beat us. They went on the next game and beat U of A and DeAndre Ayton. So
that makes up for it.
the next year, I believe that was. But he did a great job turning that program into something, fantastic. And I think he's really doing that with ASU. And like you said, I hate to give that COVID excuse, but it's just so tough not to, because look at what the season's happening. In a 3-week break for anyone in this season is going to be brutal when, other teams get to keep going, keep building chemistry and get momentum together. And I don't even know if ASU is practicing. So I don't know how it all works with all the ASU's, protocols and stuff, but everywhere Bobby Hurley's gone, including ASU in years past, has had success. So, why would he try to change it up? I'm just curious when I say recruiting is instead of going with guard you is like, going after a big man saying, hey, look at what we were. We got these wings. We got these, we got the point guards. We are one good big man away from, making a deep tournament run and you being a big name, everyday household name. It's not that hard to sell when this team is really close. They are really close. So I'm just curious to see what direction Bobby Hurley goes in because, like I said, the expectations are raised now that you got Josh Christopher and Marcus Bagley.
Yeah, I agree with you. Things do start to take a turn for better, hopefully. A little worse this year. I'm just kidding. But for your team, when you start getting these top recruits like Josh Christopher, like that sends a shockwave through, the entire collegiate, athletics and basketball because, when, like we've been talking about, when's the last time Arizona State got that big of a recruit? You don't think Bobby Hurley, the all-time great Duke, had anything to do with that? Like that name Bobby Hurley gets tossed around plenty when these recruits are, talking to their parents about, where they want to play and who they want to play for. And I don't see guard U. I don't think it's going anywhere. That's our nickname, I guess, for our team. That's our squad
shirts.
That's our gamer tag, right? So, I think we're guard U now. Hey, look, we were guard U when I started coming into school and we got good. So all I know is when I leave, we'll be guard U, and they can do whatever they want when I leave.
If I just had a stroke trying to talk there, if this season truly does amount to nothing, I think the one thing we need to root for as a team is for Josh Christopher and Marcus Bagley to do very well because we want these 5-star recruits that are one and dones who, if we don't make the tournament, Ben Simmons didn't make the tournament. He went number 1 overall. If they don't make the tournament, we want them to still get drafted really high because then you can show these 5-star recruits like, hey, we did not play all that well this season, but as a team, he still got drafted number 10 overall. It's like, imagine what you could do here if you made a Sweet 16 run or if you made the Elite 8. Imagine what you could do for your stock if, someone could be that successful here, even on a team that didn't perform all that well. So I think if this season does amount to nothing, we really need to root for Bagley and Christopher.
And look, you have to remember to just kind of look at the scope, the reach that this guy, Josh Christopher, has. He's got friends, He's not there. He's not, on social media or, in any kind of form of communication talking bad about this team and Hurley. This is nothing but, a great experience for a guy like him. He knows he's going to go to the draft after this, regardless if you get a team that could win the next 4 national championships because, the NBA is his end goal and as fast as he can get there, that's what he's going to do. But a guy like that talking good about Hurley and, just everything this team works for and is up against is only going to bode well for, future recruits and, things like that. Because, when James, what impression do you get when James Harden is talking about how great his time was at ASU and things like that? You James. I know how you feel about James, but
I personally, I feel differently. I love James Harden. He's actually my favorite player ever. I watched him play at ASU. I got to go in the tunnels and, get signed shirts. He's my favorite player ever in basketball. But, when he endorses ASU, it scares me a little bit. Obviously, these kids want to party and stuff, but, James Harden's known as the strip club goer and the huge partier. So it's when he came to ASU, ASU's known as a party school. So when he talks about, man, I had the best time there, it just seems like it's very on brand for his personality. And it's almost it's not the best endorsement. No publicity is bad publicity. But
we're number 1 in innovation now. Okay, we're not in the number 1 party school. We're
number 3. Sorry.
We're ahead of MIT and Stanford, bro. We're innovative. We're not partiers.
So we're almost out of time. Colorado and Utah, we have them both this week before our next show. Give me your prediction on what the score of the games what our record is after these 2 games.
It's tough. I think we could win against Colorado. I think our team is at a very critical turning point right now in the season. They're realizing that they really don't have any chances left for mistakes, and I want Remy to go in there and get his revenge against McKinley Wright. That's what I'm banking on.
I think this team can go 2-0, and I want them to, but I'm just going to call 1-1. I don't know. You know what? A predictable situation for this ASU team would be to beat a better Colorado team. Get some momentum. You're now on a W3, and then lose to Utah. I think that's going to happen. 1-1 is my prediction, but we are all out of time. Thank you for joining us this week. Make sure to follow us on all social medias. That's at Dash Sports TV on anything social media. And then our handles, if you want to hear more about ASU, are on the screen. Make sure to check out our website, www.dashsports.tv. And then make sure you check out our columns. One just went up yesterday about, or yesterday, 2 days ago, about the state of this program. And, they have 2 wins in a row now, but where has everything gone wrong up to this point? So make sure to check that out. That's on SportsPack12 at SportsPack12 on Twitter or Instagram, or SportsPack12.com. Thank you for joining us this week. That is all we have. We will see you next week.